Hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 103 of How Do You Write? I'm your host, Rachael Herron, and today I'm talking to the lovely, amazing Clare Lydon. She was really inspirational for me to talk to. I have this myth in my head about something, and I know that I've been wrong about it, and I know that I've been scared of it, and so she really helped me break down some of that feeling in my own head and body, and I'm going to be embracing something I've always wanted to write soon. So it was wonderful to talk to her. This is a very short intro today as I have a darling family member in town and I really want to go play in San Francisco. We're going to catch the ferry and going to go eat some good food in the city in San Francisco. I want to walk around North Beach and go to City Lights bookstore, and then we're going to go see the movie that Claire and I talk about, Crazy Rich Asians, which is going to be my second time seeing it. It's so delightful. So this is a hurried intro. Everything is going well. Business update. The romance I'm writing is going well. I am completely overwhelmed with some stuff to do in terms of the retreat that's happening next week. So there will not be an episode next week. I will not have time to do it. I think. If there is, it'll be a surprise to all of us. But otherwise, I hope that you are getting some writing done in the midst of your crazy life. Turn off the podcast when you get home and do 5 minutes of writing, 10 minutes of writing, what you can. Just get a few words done and then hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, or at howdoyouwrite.net and tell me how it went. In the meantime, enjoy this wonderful episode with Clare Lydon. I know that you will. We'll talk soon. Well, I could not be more pleased today to welcome Clare Lydon to the show. Hi, Clare.
Hello, Rachel. How are you?
I'm so glad to have you. Orna Ross connected us, and I'm so glad she did. We were just talking off air about how wonderful Orna is. And let me give a little bio for you. Clare Lydon is a London-based writer of contemporary lesbian romance. She's a #1 bestseller on lesbian fiction charts around the globe. And if you're a sucker for romance, prepare to fall head over heels in love. When she's not writing, Clare enjoys playing guitar badly, watching far too many home improvement shows, and then never taking any action, which is my life, as well as eating Curly Wurlys. In her next life, she'd like to come back as Rayna James. So would I. Were you a fan?
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? Rayna James is Connie Britton on Nashville. I actually wrote an entire romance series that in my mind was based, it was Nashville meets Gilmore Girls, because I was so in love.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you just named my two favorite TV shows. So yeah, I would read that.
The Darling Songbirds is all for you. So, did you also
Okay.
love Friday Night Lights with Connie Britton?
I haven't watched that actually. My
So
brother recommended it, not because of Colin Britton, because he's a fool. What's he been watching? But just because of the football, because I'm a sports fan. But yeah, no, it's on my list. And through listening to your other, I think you mentioned it on this one or the other podcast you do with Jay, 911. So I've now started recording that, but I haven't watched it yet. So I don't know how is that?
It's okay. It's okay. I don't love it, but Friday Night Lights I think is revolutionary, and I think it's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Okay, I
And
should
Connie
watch
Britton
that.
is everything. She plays Tammy.
Yes.
Oh, I can't remember her name now. But anyway, enough about her. We want to talk
No,
about
let's talk about
you.
Connie.
I like your style, Claire. I like your style.
I love this also that Connie and who plays Lorelai Gilmore? Lauren Graham.
Yeah.
They're friends in real life, aren't
No,
they? Which
are
just
they?
makes me happy. Yeah.
I'm reading Lauren Graham's memoir right now, which is wonderful. It's
Oh, okay. I'll
so
check that.
good. It's so funny and in her voice, and she's pretty upfront with a lot of things, so you might enjoy that as well.
Okay. Yes, I definitely.
Well, let's talk. No, really, let's talk about you. I would love to know about
Okay.
your writing process, since this is a show about processes, and then I've got a
Yeah.
bunch of other questions for you. But where do you write? How do you write? Are you full time, part time?
I am full time. I've been doing it since 2014. I released my first novel, and I've been full time since 2016. So sort of 2.5 years. And I think the writing process just constantly changes all the time. I'd love to come on here and say that I get up every day and I write at the same time, but I'd be lying through my teeth. But but I do kind of realize I've heard this a lot recently that discipline equals freedom, and well, not I've heard it many many times, but it's I think it's just the penny's just dropped recently that it does. So I am trying to do things in a more routine manner of late, and it definitely works for me when I'm first drafting, because I find that if I write every day, including weekends, then I just keep the momentum going, and that's really helpful. And I'm trying to do this 5 a day process at the moment, which is
Tell me all about it.
okay, I will. Which is nothing to do with fruit or vegetables. It's I've got it written on my blackboard up here. I've just forgot it, so I can check it. It's fine. Meditate, stretch, write, market, and move. So those 5 things, and I'm trying to do all those 5 things every day. Now I'm not hitting it every day at all. I'm not a saint. But if I can get up, meditate, stretch, and then write before sort of lunchtime, then that's a really good start to the day. So that's what I try to do when I'm first drafting. And I've taken now to editing at home, but writing out of the home. So I go to a coffee shop that's 30 minutes down the river. So I live in London, so I get to walk down the River Thames
how nice.
for 30 minutes. And then I specifically picked this one because it's quiet and it's half an hour walk away, so I'll get my exercise in as well. And then I write for 2 hours or so, get 2,000 or 3,000 words done, and then walk back. And then by midday, I've hit 3, and then I'm feeling brilliant. I'm feeling great. And then it's just I'm really focusing on the process actually lately, because I've been working with this business life coach, because I decided I needed some help focusing, and it's made me realise that I'm going to sound like a tree hugging hippie here.
Oh,
but
I can't wait.
It's all about the process. It's the journey, as they would say on the X Factor, and it is all about, I guess, the daily sort of grind stroke joy of it, because the satisfaction you get when you complete, doing some writing and then going for a walk and doing my meditation, all those things is really cool. And actually, I have been focusing more on the results and getting a bit hung up about that. And but I had 2 months this year where I had my biggest months ever, revenue wise. So brilliant, great book sales and revenue, but it didn't give me as lasting joy as having a great morning writing. So that was a lesson learned.
I love that.
Yeah. So
that sounds absolutely ideal. I've been reading The Miracle Morning by Hal, what's his name?
Oh yeah.
And it's really irritating me. Like if I were to do all of the things that, I should be doing before I write. Jay and I talk about this on our other show. We would start writing at 4 in the afternoon. But what you just said, taking this easier approach to it without punishing yourself if you miss a couple of them, that's what I would like to emulate. That sounds wonderful. Also, walking down the River Thames sounds lovely. And I've actually never heard discipline equals freedom before. Or if I have, I've completely forgotten it. So I really, really like that.
I think it was a guy, I heard it from a guy on Mark McGuinness's podcast. Do you listen to that?
No. Should I?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
It's called The 21st Century Creative. And Mark is very wise, and he's got a really soothing voice as well, a bit like Orna Ross, your guest you had on a couple of weeks ago. But Mark is brilliant, and he talks to people, not just writers but artists across many different mediums. And he interviewed an entrepreneurial, like a really a very successful entrepreneur, and he was talking about discipline equal freedom. And I've heard it in many different guises before, but it's only just crystallizing, I suppose, in my head. And it's another thing I've got written on my blackboard above my head here, because freedom is something I really value, and that's what I love about this life. But if you don't do the work, then you don't have the freedom, because you're constantly feeling guilty. So it's kind of falling into place.
I think it might be falling into place as you're speaking in my own head. So you do write every day?
Well, I write every day in my first drafting process, and then I was going to try and start the next book when I start to edit this book that I'm writing, but it's very difficult to do that for me. I know a lot of people can do it.
I can't do it.
I haven't. You can't do it? No.
I can't do it. On a real surface level, I can't even... I stop being able to tell the characters apart. I'll call them the wrong
Yeah,
name. It's just like a very top level problem, but I just can't do it. I can't keep their
yeah, and
character arcs separate. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think I have the same problem, and I spoke to I do a podcast called Lesbian Book Club where I interview other lesbian fiction authors, and I spoke to one author about this, and she was aghast, and she said to me that if my characters were fully fleshed out and fully drawn, I wouldn't get them mixed up. Well, that was me told, wasn't it? And I thought, well,
Ouch.
I'm clearly not as good as you at this multitasking business. And yeah, I had to be nice to her because she was on my
Of
podcast, so I
course you
just let it
did.
slide.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the lesbian fiction for a minute. My goal is to someday be on your show since I am a lesbian, but I don't write lesbian fiction. It's just like one of those things I'm saving for myself. And I've got this whole story fleshed out that I need to get to. I just saw recently, this was interesting to me, the new K-Lytics. I don't know if you ever look at those from
I got the email. I got the email recently, yeah,
yeah,
about the romance
it
numbers.
shows lesbian fiction as one of the top 6 or 7 searches on Amazon for romances, lesbian romance, even ahead of gay romance. So
Oh,
I thought that
really?
was interesting. So well done you for being in doing this. Um,
Yeah. Part of the I would say part of the vanguard, but I'm not. I'm like second or third wave.
are you?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, or maybe even fourth or fifth. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not very good with numbers. I'm more words. But I think that yeah. I mean, a lot of people say that you can't make a living doing lesbian fiction. Well, I'm proof you can,
That's
and I know a
wonderful.
lot of other full-time writers who are doing it. The market's there, and it's only getting bigger by the day. And the amount of people who are coming in and writing lesbian fiction is getting bigger, and it's brilliant. So
It
the more
gives
the
me
merrier,
hope.
because the audience is there. Yeah,
There's always been this myth that I've never ascribed to, but I've always heard is that you can't do it and that lesbians don't buy romances and I'm very glad to know this is you're laughing. It's
lesbians.
definitely not
Well,
true.
lesbians like happy endings as much as anyone else,
Yes.
and also it's not just lesbians buying it. So that's the key thing about it. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
emails from people from all sexual orientations and all walks of life. So yeah, I mean, I think the main audience is still lesbian
Hmm.
because you really have to want to buy it to search for it.
Yeah.
But the audience is growing bigger and bigger, and I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing the walls falling down a little bit. That's my
That's
hope. Anyway.
fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
Oh, biggest challenge. I think, well, first of all, the discipline, but
Hmm.
yeah, that's something you work on every day. I think the biggest thing that I've had to deal with is running your own business,
Mm.
because that's what we're doing here
Hmm.
as writers, and having the mindset for that, because it's one of the things. Like I said, one of the things I value the most is having the freedom to do what you want, because the job I had before it wasn't a bad job. I was a music journalist, so I met lots of famous people. I interviewed them, and I'm a big music fan. So,
Wow. That's
so
cool.
I mean, that was amazing. I did that for 8 years. So it wasn't like I had a job that I hated, but I still didn't like being told where to turn up places. I don't like being told what to do. So
Yeah.
so so to have this job and to have the freedom it entails is the biggest sort of challenge. It's the biggest joy, but it's also the biggest challenge. Is having the mindset to sort of curtail that and make it work. And so and it's having a business mindset to do it all yourself. So, and also working solo, which I think I'm sure you've had this as well, leaving your job and going full time. It takes some time to work out what the best process is. I
Hmm.
think the first year I was like, woohoo, I'm doing this full time. It's amazing. And the second year was a little bit more challenging. And this year I feel like I've got it a bit more worked out, and I'm getting out there and joining local writing groups and networking with other authors and just embracing sort of this part of my life. So, but
What
it
what
comes with
exact what
challenge.
month did you go full time in 2014?
Um, February. Oh no, well that was when I brought out my first book. I went full time January 2016.
Oh, 2016. I thought yeah, so So I was 3 months later than you, because I was April 1st, 2016. So we're really on the same track, and I'm feeling exactly the same way as you. The first year was bliss. The second year was confusion. And
Yeah.
the third year is, I'm really trying, for me, I'm shifting into maybe real life, the way it actually works. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
What is your
Yeah.
greatest, sorry, go
It
ahead.
is interesting because it is interesting because it's just you think you got it all worked out after year one, and then year two you're like, oh my God.
I thought I would have it all worked out after week two. I just thought I would just slip right into it like I do pajamas, but it didn't. It didn't work. So, what is your biggest joy then when it comes to writing?
Um, well, again, I guess the freedom it entails,
Yeah.
but the one thing that I didn't really realize when I started, and it's been really brilliant, is the reader interaction that you get. Um, because, I mean, besides doing this full time, which I always wanted to write books, but I never thought I'd be able to write lesbian fiction full time. But I can. But the doing it as a self-published author, I have a newsletter that I mail out to readers every 2 weeks, and I just did it today, and I've already got like 10 replies in the first 2 hours,
Isn't that the
and
best?
yeah, and it's brilliant, and I just love hearing from people all around the world, all walks of life, and the barriers are just gone, and I can ask my readers what they want, and they can tell me what they want, and I get to know them. Like there was recently, I don't know, do you know GCLS in America?
Mm-mm, no.
So that's the Golden Crown Literary Society, and that
Okay.
is like the lesbian Oscars. Um,
Ooh.
sorry, the lesbian Oscars for no, what is the Oscar? Not
Yeah.
lesbian Oscars, the lesbian literary Oscars. Anyway, and there was a European lesbian literature conference, the first one held in Bristol in August, so last month. And I met this reader there called Bev, who has been my early reader since book 3, and I'm on book 10 now. And she's just brilliant, and she's honest, and she's lovely, and it was just lovely to meet her. So it's just great meeting all these people, and you're making a difference in their lives, but vice versa too.
You're making a very real difference, and I just thought of this. My best reader is a woman named Laura Jean. She's been there from the very beginning. I've talked about her before. She knows my books better than I do, and she's coming down in 3 weeks from Portland. I live in San Francisco, and to pick up a puppy. She's adopting one of my puppies. Like we have
Oh
become
wow.
friends in that way. Like these our readers become parts of our lives as friends in many cases,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I just love that. Can you
yeah.
share a quick craft tip of any sort with us?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I think I'm going to say that just steal things from other media,
Yes.
because I love stealing things from real life, from TV, from movies, from poetry, from all sorts of different places. So I always look at how couples interact, and my books are sort of mainly romantic comedy. So I love looking at romantic comedy films and thinking, what can I steal from here? So Grey's Anatomy
Yes.
is really good for it.
Ooh.
I stole a couple of ideas from relationship with McDreamy and Meredith. Richard Curtis movies, which my books have been described as with lesbian leads, so I'm very pleased with that analogy. And
That's wonderful.
I've got one book where it finishes with with a kiss on the doorstep in the rain. So I don't know where I got that idea. And poetry. Poetry. One of my things this year was to read some poetry. I'm rubbish at reading it, but when I do, I love it. So I don't know why I have so much resistance to it. But yeah, I've got some. That just makes you look at language differently, and so that's really cool to look at too. And yeah, and just stuff from real life. I wrote a book about a flood that I read the story in the newspaper about this guy that got flooded, and he had half an hour to get out of his flat, and what should he take? And that's how I started one of my lesbian romance novels.
Do you collect them in a certain place, or are they just all kind of swirling
No.
around? No.
I wish I was that. I wish I was that organised, but no,
I
they're
have
just all swirling around.
I have a couple of places where I keep ideas. Like they're just tagged ideas. They're in my email and they're in my Evernote. And I can never remember to look at them. That's the problem, is I put them there and then I just forget about them. I'm hoping someday I will remember. This is a new question that I'm trying out on you. So good luck.
Okay.
But
All right.
I like to change my questions as I go. What is your very favorite thing in writing that you're passionate about? And can you, like, what's the thing you always want to talk to other writers about? And can you share that with us?
I think that the thing that I'm most passionate about really is being able to do this and giving a voice to lesbians or bisexual, queer, whatever label you want to put on it, all around the globe, and getting their stories heard. Because I think that if it wasn't for, and just basically the era we're living in, because if it wasn't for the advent of self-publishing, I wouldn't be able to do this, because mainstream publishing houses don't want to hear about anything that's not basic, straight or white. And you hear a lot of people moaning about Amazon and all the evil that it brings, but without Amazon, I wouldn't be able to do the job I'm doing, and all the other platforms as well, because I am wide. Like I said, my dream has always been to do this, but I would never, ever, ever thought that I would be able to do it with focusing on relationships between women. And that is what I'm really passionate about. It's kind of like it's almost a calling now, which sounds hippie and tree hugging. But hey, maybe I am a hippie tree hugger.
I love that. I admire you, and I aspire to be more like you. I came in right at the tail end of traditional. I talk like traditional publishing is over. Maybe it is, but I came in at the tail end of that, and I could not get my editors to ever accept anything close to a gay storyline. I would slip in gay characters and have like a secondary romance going, but I feel so gun shy from that, and I feel ashamed that I have not written more queer characters. And so talking to you just really I don't know, it gives me hope in humanity somehow.
It does brighten this. It's it's almost, as I said, like a political act, but also it just brings I saw that again from somebody I interviewed on the podcast. She said it, and I was like, oh, I'm stealing that.
I'm an inveterate stealer. That's how we do this. Have you seen Crazy Rich Asians yet, the movie, or read the book?
I haven't. No.
The movie's wonderful, and it's going to be your new favorite rom-com. So it's
okay.
It's good. It's a good one to steal from. I stole a couple things from that already, up in here in my head.
Okay. I do plan on seeing it, so because I love a good rom-com. That's my first question to anyone when they say, "Have you seen this movie, Claire?" And I say, "Is it a rom-com?" No, I'm not like to see them.
I went in not knowing anything about it whatsoever, and did not know it was a rom-com, and it was about 10 minutes in when I realized it was one, and I realized that I'd somehow tricked my wife into going to a rom-com with me because I hadn't known. But she was delighted with it too. She loved it. What is the best book you've read recently, and why did you love it?
Well, I think The Memory Book by I couldn't remember the title there. The Memory Book by Rowan Coleman.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It's more uplifting than it sounds, because it's about a woman who gets early onset dementia. So
I wrote a book about that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Splinters of Light is about that. Yeah.
I think I'm kind of obsessed with it because we have a lot of dementia in my family, so I'm always paranoid that it's gonna happen. So, did you see Still Alice, the movie? That's not a rom-com.
No, it is not.
Don't.
I read the book, of course, because it came out before my book did. So yeah, I will not see the movie.
Yeah, it's I cried quite a lot at that one.
Yeah.
But no, The Memory Book, it's really cool because it's told from a perspective of different people. So the woman who gets the early onset dementia, but also her daughter, her mother, her husband, and so it's like a family saga, and it's very funny and very heartfelt.
I am going to read that immediately. That sounds just up my alley.
Yeah, and the one I just read recently as well was Marion Keyes, Rachel's Holiday.
I love her. I love that book.
Yeah, I'm a recent convert to Marion Keyes, so I'm very excited that there's quite a lot to go through.
Rachel's Holiday was the first one I read by her, and I just remember being so delighted.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing, that book, and yeah, but so many people I've mentioned it to have read it. They're like, "You've only just read Marion Keys." I'm like,
And
"Yeah, I'm late to the
do
party."
they all do what I did? Was as soon as you said the words, you start laughing.
Yeah.
So if anyone hasn't read these, that one, that's a great place to start with her. What would you like to tell us about right now? Would you like to tell us about your last book or last series? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm most active. I am on Facebook, but I don't really like it. So you can go there, and I'll
Amen.
post very occasionally. So Twitter, I'm at Clare Lydon, and Instagram at Clare Fic. I'm got my latest book is called London Actually. I wonder where I got that title, and it's with the editor at the moment. So that's book 5 in the London Romance series. So that's coming out in October. And I was going to say as well, my writing process was changed slightly because I did my first joint book this year. So that was called Once Upon a Princess, and it was a lesbian royal romance to tie in with the royal wedding. But that did really well, and just the act of writing with someone else made me realise that I'm not such a control freak as I thought I was. So that was really good to know. But
Would
it
you do it
did
again?
change my writing. Oh, in a heartbeat, I would. Yeah.
Wow.
Have you done it
I haven't
before?
done it. Jay and I started to do a project, which kind of we tested it and it kind of flopped in an interesting way, and so we haven't done it. But I've never done it. I think I would really like to, but yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just about choosing
the right
your
person.
partner, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it was another author called Harper Bliss approached me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and we got to know each other because I interviewed her on my podcast, and then we got emailing, and yeah, we were both really nervous. Like she was so
I
nervous.
would be
She's written
too.
like 20 books, and she said that she thought it was like she'd never written a book before.
Well, and
um,
exposing that level of early draft, I don't show my zero draft or even my first draft to anyone. No one.
No, and neither
So,
did I, and neither did she. So it was really you have to pick the person that you do it with
yeah.
and really trust them. But it really worked for us.
Oh, that's
So
lovely. I want to read I'm going to pick up the first London book and that one definitely.
you
So,
should, yeah. Okay, cool.
I will.
And also, yeah, my lesbian book club podcast is a monthly thing on the Lesbian Lounge platform.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm also subscribing to that. I'm your newest, biggest fan. I'm so grateful
Hooray!
to Orna for setting us up, and I would like to mea culpa on the air for getting the London Pacific time zones wrong. So poor Claire was waiting at her computer for an hour when I was not there. I was at the cafe writing. So
No,
I apologize. Thank you for being so
no problem
gracious
at all.
and lovely, and it's been such a treat to talk to you. And thank you.
No, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Rachel.
take care. Bye.